Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the November meeting of the Economic Development Authority of the City of Lynchburg. I will call the meeting to order, and we will proceed with roll call. You would just signify you're in attendance by saying aye. Bill Lovern.
Aye.
Louise Mitchell.
Here.
Andy Mueller.
Present.
Georgianne Sneed.
Here.
Mark Strohsnyder is here. John Stone.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Hope everyone's had a chance to review the minutes from the October meeting. And does anyone have any additions, corrections, deletions that should be acknowledged and amended at this time? And if
Motion
none,
to approve as presented.
thank you, Mr. Stone. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Georgianne, thank you. Georgianne Sneed seconded. Motion's made, properly second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye. I'll go through the roll call. Bill Lovern.
Aye.
Louise Mitchell.
Aye.
Andy Mueller.
Aye.
Georgianne Sneed. Georgianne.
Aye.
Okay. Mark Strohsnyder, aye. John Stone.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. All right, next item on the agenda is the Bosch and Law Performance Agreements. I will turn it over to Ms. Margette and Ted Craddock.
Okay. These are the agreements for the Bosch and Lomb incentive, and what I put in your packet, it's been a while. And what happened was we have actually 3 agreements, 2 of which we execute, or the EDA executes, and 1 of which is just executed by the state. So I wanted to put all of those in your packet so that you could see them and be reminded. I know we've talked about all this and the announcement's been made, but the agreements had to go through Bosch corporate and they got returned to me. I was telling Mark this morning, I think they landed on my desk right after the last EDA meeting. So wanted to make sure that we got in the minutes that the amount of the incentive was encumbered and that the EDA voted to have the chair execute the agreement. So there is what's called a Virginia Investment Program agreement that the state and Bosch have together. That's in your packet. We don't need to sign that. There's the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund Performance Agreement that we do, the EDA does need to execute. And then there's a separate EDA performance agreement. Normally, when we do an incentive with the state of Virginia, we're included in the performance agreement that they draft because our money is always got to be there as a match. So I just want you to know that it still has to be there, but moving forward, they are looking at individual EDAs having their own agreement with the company. So that's why this is separate. So there are 3 agreements, 2 of which the chair of the EDA would execute. And the 3rd agreement is the agreement between the EDA and Bosch and Lomb. And so that
yeah, if I might, Margette, the 3 agreements should be in the Dropbox. The first is the Virginia Investment Performance Grant that the authority doesn't have anything to do with, but that's from VEDP, and that's the first one. The second one is the pass-through, $210,000 from the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund. I think it used to be the governor's fund, but they changed the name. And that's $210,000, and that's pass through. In other words, the state's gonna pass that money through the authority to Bosch and Lomb. And then the third one is our normal performance incentive agreement that Bosch and Lomb the metrics on all the grants are the same, approximately $35 million of capital investment and maintaining the 164 jobs. I think we ought to take them separately and have the chairman or vice chairman authorized to execute these two performance agreements.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to accept and allow the chairman to sign the $300,000 grant?
No, we don't, not gonna sign that one, Mark.
Don't sign that one.
No,
The $210,000 pass-through performance agreement with the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund.
Right.
So moved.
Georgianne has
sorry.
moved. Is there a second?
Louise, second.
Ms. Mitchell has second. All right, we'll go through roll. All those in favor, Bill Lovern,
Aye.
Louise Mitchell,
Aye.
Andy Mueller,
Aye.
Georgianne Sneed,
Aye.
Mark Strohsnyder's aye, John Stone.
Aye.
Okay, the next motion would, if someone would like to make for the to authorize the chairman to sign the performance agreement for the $280,000
Grant.
EDA performance agreement.
Yeah, I think more.
So
Is there a
moved,
motion?
John Stone.
John Stone has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Lovern.
Bill Lovern, second. I'll go through the roll. Signify by saying aye. Bill Lovern,
Aye.
Louise Mitchell,
Aye.
Andy Mueller,
Aye.
Georgianne Sneed,
Aye.
Mark Strohsnyder's an aye, John Stone.
Aye.
Motions have been made, second, and voted on. Both performance agreements have been voted on to approve and allow the chairman to sign off on. Margette, is there anything else? Ted, is there anything else with the Bosch and Lawn performance agreements that we need to discuss or bring
No,
to the committee?
not to my knowledge.
Thank you all very much. Next on the agenda, I'll bring up Kent White, who has an update with the CARES Community Funding Program.
So Mark, just for a second, but I mean, first of all, I want to make sure that Ted, who's taking minutes for the meeting, knows that Anna Benson, myself, and Alicia are on the call.
Alicia's on it, okay.
Yes. And Kent White is on the call.
Right,
And we have two people from the public on the call.
okay.
And so they can identify themselves to Mark.
Thomas Brennan, just community member. Just
Good morning. Welcome, Thomas. Nice to have you.
thank you.
And Shelley Blades, also just a community member.
Good morning, Shelley. Welcome.
Shelley's also the director of Lynchburg Grows, which you all have a relationship.
Oh, sure.
Sure. All right, thank you,
Okay.
Claudia.
You're welcome, Ted.
All right. Mr. White, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. So before you today is an addendum to the performance agreement with Interfaith Outreach. As you know, you have agreements with 3 providers to help those in our community with rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. We see this as a big piece of assisting our workforce through these challenging times of COVID. Interfaith Outreach has asked to amend their agreement to provide a maximum of $2,600 per household for any combination of gas, electric, and water utility assistance. Interfaith has indicated that they are receiving requests for household bills that are much higher than originally anticipated in August of 2020. So you can imagine someone who was impacted by COVID in March and is continuing to feel those effects all the way through. Those bills are continuing to grow. Excuse me. The proposed amendments would provide greater flexibility to address the specific needs of the customer by setting a maximum funding available for the household itself, rather than capping it based on individual utilities. So the scope they submitted you initially provided $1,000 per household for electric and gas and $600 for water utilities. This provides for $2,600 across all those utilities. This would change the maximum available families by at least $1,000. So, and your agreements with all the providers, Interfaith Outreach, Lynchburg Community Action Group, and Miriam's House will all terminate on December 13th in advance of the expiration of those funds. And of course, we'll report out the final outcomes to you at your meeting next month. We really do appreciate your patience working through all these changes. Obviously, I heard Anna say before, this has really just been a different experience, I think, for all of us, but we're excited about the progress we're making in the community. I really appreciate your consideration and happy to answer any questions you have.
They feel like, or do you feel like they'll be able to expend all the funds by the deadline?
Yes, ma'am. I actually spoke with their executive director as recently as this morning, and they feel like this change to the agreement will help them immensely. I think they're seeing a backlog of folks here, and they didn't want to issue checks and then turn around and reissue checks. So. And just to clarify, I'm saying they, Interfaith Outreach feels like it. I'll give you the updates on Miriam's House and Lynchburg Community Action Group in just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Ken, have they gone through, I think they were approved initially for 75,000, is that correct?
Yes, sir. They have, I'll just do the updates. I probably should just do those updates to begin with. So Interfaith right now has spent 70,000, almost about 70,500. That doesn't include staff time. And they are reasonably confident they will get to the 150,000 that Ms. Need referenced. We talked before about Miriam's House. Of course, with the eviction moratorium that went on for so long, they have had real issues trying to house those who are experiencing homelessness during this time, which I think I've said before is kind of a double-edged sword. So yay, no evictions, but the availability of affordable housing in the community is really challenging. They've actually only been able to house one household so far. That they'll submit that bill. It's about $4,000. And I know I've said this, but we really do expect that, unfortunately, probably after these funds have expired, we will be seeing, continued need in the community. The good news is the work that the authority has done has allowed us to push out other grants. So hopefully those will be available to assist in the springtime. And then Lynchburg Community Action Group, they've served 18 households so far, 17 with rent assistance, 1 with mortgage. They've spent about $25,000 of their $75,000. They have indicated that they will not be requesting the additional $75,000 we had initially allotted to them. And again, same reasons. The moratorium on rent and or on evictions kind of changed their work a little bit. But we hope to have grants available for them through community development block grants, at least in the spring on a limited basis.
Kent, what happens to that 75,000 that they're not able to use?
That's a great question. We will, the city's long-term recovery committee, which is multiple departments, including Margette Upshur, our chief financial officer, our city assessor, our commissioner of the revenue. We meet once or twice a month to review requests. So we will repurpose that $75,000. Our goal is that we want to expend all those funds locally. If we have not expended them by December 30th, they'll be returned to the state. And we've been working very diligently to make sure that anything that we can do to make sure that they're repurposed. And we're confident we'll be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you. I think we would need a motion to accept this amendment. If someone would like to make that motion.
Yeah, Mark, it's Andy. I'll make that motion to approve this proposed.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
And to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
Thank
Ted.
I'll
Bill Lovren
second.
seconds. Oh, sorry. Whatever.
We had multiple seconds by Bill and Georgianne. Take your pick, Ted, whichever one you like.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. All right, and I will go through the lineup to get your votes. Bill Lovren,
Aye.
Louise Mitchell,
Aye.
Andy Mueller,
Aye.
Georgianne Sneed,
Aye.
Mark Strohsnyder's an aye, John Stone.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And now, thank you, Kent. And now, Margette, your staff report, please.
Sure. First of all, I just want to thank Mark and John and Bill, and I know Louise was going to try to be on there, but I might have given her the wrong Zoom number. It happens. With VEDP, when we went over the site characterizations, that's the first time that we have really worked with VEP on, really private sector as well as public sector site characterizations. They have a system in which a tiered system to look at properties to see when they're ready to, to market, or the shovel ready, as they call them. And so they really came because VEDP needed to know what their inventory was across the state when they go to market to prospects. So they came to each one of us. It took a really long time, and they never did give us the go-ahead to share the information necessarily previous to the call that we had. But I really, really appreciate the work that was done. They were pretty thorough in looking at the property that I was able to submit to them from the city, and it had to be at least 25 acres before they would take it within the program to look at it. And so they gave us, cost estimates on what it would cost to bring the properties up to each tier. I think most of the properties in the region itself, and I think everybody but us used all public property, was about a tier 2. So we're not the only ones that that there's property there that, is not necessarily shovel ready, but it's also a hefty price tag to get some of these things in that condition. But the fact that VEDP did that was really, really helpful. And I think helps you all as the Economic Development Authority. You have property left, one property on Jefferson Ridge Parkway, and then all of the Wigington Road property there, to just get an idea of what it takes to get those properties up to where you could submit them, to a site selector to look at, and some of the things that we might need to do. So we have a commitment to do a couple of master plans before June 30th. One would be on Wigington Road, and the other one would be on the Creekside property, which is behind Home Depot. Those two properties we'll look at for a master plan to see what highest and best use is. So I think we're in a position within the city where we look at every piece of property and hopefully can build relationships with the owners, where we look at the highest and best use and then work with the owner or work to try to go out and specifically find a prospect for that. Cause I think it's going to be really hard on some of these properties to just, for any prospect to say, oh, that'd be a great place for me, you know, to go and be able to locate. So anyway, thank you all for spending the time. And I've thought about when we can, and we may end up doing it on Zoom, is to bring in our consultants from Draper Aiden and let them kind of go over the properties that we had in that group, because they were some of the consultants that actually were tapped to do the work, and just do a little deeper dive. Because I know Andy wanted to participate and wasn't able to. And so that might be something for the future, maybe to just spend a couple hours going through the properties and talking about all that, just so you all get a feel for what it takes to do it, and, you know, and how important it'll be in the future to take any site that we have and try to work with the owner, or if we purchase the property, to get it ready to turn it back around so that we can continue to have businesses expand as well as attract businesses. So that'll bring me to, we have been consumed with the CARES Act, as Kent has mentioned here. You know, our office and you all have acted as a conduit. City Council gave us $4 million to allocate back out to the business community. I think the third round of that is expected to go at the end of the week. Anna, Alicia, Emmeline, everybody on this staff has worked tirelessly, as have other departments in the city, to go through and make sure that these applications were screened and that we turned the funds back around as quickly as possible. So I've told you before that I believe that the city and this office did a better job at outreach than any other municipality that I've spoken with. So we did snail mail. We worked really closely with the Commissioner of Revenue's office. We did emails, and we did phone calls. We did over 2,000 phone calls out of this office, calling businesses to let them know that the program was available. I think where we're going to end up, and Anna can chime in on this, or Alicia, of the $4 million, probably about $3.2 million will have been allocated. And so, as Kent says, any money that the long-term recovery group meets on a regular basis to make sure that the money is being spent, and any money that isn't, we have a plan to reallocate that money to something else so that we have zero balance at 12/31. So one of the great things that we did also was partner with Centra, HealthWorks, PCHP. And we, as soon as we get off of this call, we had people on the application opt in if they wanted to receive more information from Centra, HealthWorks, and PCHP, as well as the SBDC if they needed help with business planning or consulting services. We gave them the ability, you know, to opt in. And so we will have, we have a big Zoom call scheduled right after this with Dr. Hughes from HealthWorks for all of the folks that signed up for that. Right, Anna?
That's right. It's at 10 o'clock. So thanks, Andy, to your team for helping us arrange that. They've been great partners on this. And we did have probably at least a third of our applicants opt in for this service. So we're excited to see that group come together.
Well, good. Happy to participate and happy to help.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just think it really helps people to understand across the city. I mean, it's given us a much deeper dive into the businesses here, and just kind of elevates all of the work that's done all the time. But most people got their head down and they have no idea, you know, necessarily some of the things that are available to them. So I'm really excited about that. We are also going to take some of the COVID funds, and in order to help our restaurants expand and utilize their outdoor spaces, we have Emily Gwynn on our staff, who is a pit bull, has gone out and found heaters so that people can extend their outdoor dining. And so we will have heaters that we will be with a short application, and we've already have all our restaurants identified. We will be it'll be first come, first serve, but we'll be giving heaters to folks to help them be able to continue to stay open and be safe, socially distance, and that kind of thing. So that all got done in about a week's time, right? We talked about heaters, then we had to go find the heaters, and the applications have been put together, and all of that'll be Public Works jumped in. We're gonna have the heaters delivered to Public Works, and then you may see me in a 2004 RAV4 with heaters hanging out of the back of my car, dropping them off.
That's about right.
Whatever it takes.
I do want to say
Mask
real
up.
quick
Mask up.
before we leave CARES, I just want to say thanks to the team, but Melissa and the Bank of the James have been incredible, and Bill and Mark and John for stepping up to get all of this, checks signed, ACH deposits done. That was a new territory for us, getting that all set up. So just a thank you to everybody on the administrative piece.
Melissa's been unbelievable. And I told Mark this morning that Bill's been up here so many times, they just let him in as a staff member of the city. Because they recognize him and they go, it's Bill. He can just come right on into and Bank of the James. I can't even thank them enough. I mean, they've seen this as a real community service and have just been absolutely incredible to deal with. So we want to make sure that the community knows, just like we were saying about Centra, that, all of these partners have stepped up to make sure that the businesses here can recover. So really excited about that. The next thing is EWI, who we have a partnership with, that we are working with our advanced manufacturers to deepen their bench, as it were, with some research and development and process planning. They came last week, and I actually had safely, socially distanced and mask up, like 4 calls with manufacturers here in the city alongside EWI. And that program and the conversations that we had are doing exactly what I had hoped. And especially during this time, people are open to figuring out, what are better ways to do things, and what are some things that if we have opportunities, how do we seize those opportunities from an engineering perspective? So, one of the manufacturers even said, can I rent an engineer for 90 days? And EWI goes, you absolutely can. So that program is really taking off now. And I feel really great about the visits that we had last week. We also submitted amendments to the enterprise zone. As you know, we have to get permission from DHCD to finalize that, but we are at the point where both of our zones we're only allowed 7% of the city's total acreage to be put in those zones, and we're at pretty much full tilt on both of them. So we have to take out property that can't take advantage of the zone, so that we can add property. So we took that to council on November the 10th, and they approved it. And now it goes up to the state for approval there. We just brought in some properties that have expressed interest in redevelopment. We want to make sure there's been a lot of rumblings at the state level. They've audited the enterprise zone program this year at the state level. And I just wanted to make sure that we do everything we can, because obviously it's not in our control, to make sure that we're taking advantage in all of our businesses that we can possibly get in there are able to take advantage of that. In our economic, development strategies, all of them that we have had, we have been told that the city needed to have a unified brand. That's a lot easier said than done. But we are committed in our office, especially with the reset, to trying one more time to have that come to fruition. So we have gone out and gotten bids on what it would take to do a brand, a citywide brand and a marketing strategy. And so we've chosen Resonance Consultancy to help us out with that. And we will be starting down that path probably before the end of the year and pulling folks together to look at that. I mean, I feel like we have a brand with LYH, very recognizable, but we need some input on what that's going to look like and how, and we need to bring some other city departments, communications and marketing, folks like that, all on board, to share this vision, because the brand's not going to work if we aren't able to bring everybody on board. So I just wanted to let you all know that. And Anna, is there anything else that I missed?
I just want to, it's CARES related, but I just wanted to give everybody an update that we have, thanks to Emmy in our office as well, and all of our anchor institutions, we have an RFP out for the procurement of digital kiosks. We have 10 locations identified throughout the city at our colleges and universities, Centra Health, the Lynchburg Museum, Old City Cemetery, Percival's Island, the Visitor Center, and Kemper Street Station. It started out with the Visitor Center trying to deliver services digitally. And then we really thought, well, what a great way to engage anchors and get content about the city and attractions and things going on at all of these different locations. So we've really hustled, and procurement has been amazing. They have a full plate with CARES, as you might imagine. And we've got this RFP out, and we'll have these installed, certainly procured by the end of the year and installed hopefully February-ish. So our goal here being that, we can't offer services in person the way we have before, and these will also be able to reach a lot more people where they are with digital information about the city. So
that's kind of a game changer. And I'll also say just a big shout out to all the anchors. Mm-hmm. Andy, your group, everybody, because we're going to physically locate something there. And these are just things that, we share information and think we're partners, but, you get in the middle of a pandemic, that's where the rubber meets the road. And we're really doing a full court press on, can you imagine the number of people, that come through the doors at Centra Health? And so to have those people, have access to information about the city and what they could use there. So they've really had to help us from a facility standpoint. Where's the best place for it to be located? How do we get power to it? And we've got to get all this accomplished, or at least paid for, by December 31st. So not only that, but Anna has also met with the marketing directors at all of the anchors to really talk to them about how, when they're out there selling the city, whether it's to employees or whether it's to students or parents or whatever, how do we work alongside them so that, we are leveraging efforts there, and how can we help one another? So I think all of those meetings, everything that's gone on has just been fantastic response. And I think there's a lot of things that we're going to be able to take advantage of in the future because of those relationships and because of that information. So hats off to Anna and to Emmeline. And like I said, Melissa, everybody on this team has just, I know Andy talks about his team, but they've all just done an incredible job. And then the team that I call all the businesses in the city, but all the support organizations and people that work alongside us, everybody's just been incredible. That's it.
Anna, real quick, what was your final opinion? I know y'all completed the co-starters program. Doing it virtually, do you think the participants got the same effect from it, that they, or a comparable effect?
We
Probably
did
not the same
complete
as
that.
face-to-face.
Actually, Emmeline is on the call. I'll let her speak.
Whoops, I forgot. I'm sorry,
Answer that
Emmeline. I didn't
question.
tell Ted you were on the call.
It's all
I
right.
got it.
Thank you, Ted.
Emmy, if you're available, she might not have been expecting to be asked a question. But yes, we did finish that virtual cohort. They did get together masked and distanced for pitch night last week. And I think that, you know, the engagement, we had really good facilitation too. But the engagement has been solid. People have continued to want to explore these ideas in this way. So it's been good. And we'll Co-Starters nationally is changing their core curriculum a little bit. So we've been working with them on kind of what that looks like and how we can get our facilitators updated to that. They're making some improvements nationally as they grow. And we've been with Co-Starters about as long as anyone. So they have grown across the country and actually internationally as well. So we're walking alongside them to make sure this program is available to our starters. But it's been a good experience, I think, for everyone.
Very good. Okay, does anyone have any, we have no items for closed session. Does anyone have any concerns, questions, comments to add to the meeting this morning? Before we close, I do want to thank Andy personally, because we hear the numbers are going back up again, and I know he probably still feels like he's drinking from a fire hose, but everything that the first responders and the folks at Centra are doing to help our community is greatly appreciated, and just want to shout out to him for that, for everything he's doing to lead the charge.
Yeah, Mark, I tell you, it's really our very frontline caregivers. They're the ones who are really feeling it right now, and it's tough for them because the patients are sick. We are seeing some of our highest numbers of patients. I think it's only going to get worse. And part of the challenge we've got is that when we get caregivers who occasionally either get exposed or get sick, and the vast majority of that is just happening in the community, in the course of their everyday lives, it means they can't work, which means that their colleagues are having to work extra, which means it's just wearing the team down that much more. And we're doing anything. We have a, no dollar spared kind of response to let's try to get in some temporary labor to help. The problem is there's none available. We've exhausted everything we can find. So we've got some tired caregivers. So anybody who's thinking about us, please think about them. And any comments folks can make publicly or whatever, just to support them, is greatly appreciated, because it's hard on them right now. And we're going to have a long way to go with this.
We will have a property committee meeting immediately after this. So Louise, if you will stay on the line for a little bit. And
Okay.
If there are no other comments or questions, concerns, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. The next
Happy
meeting.
Thanksgiving.